let's go back in time a little bit last year where you started this.
Mhm.
What were you doing then and what was that like?
I was working in the NHS in mental health. I'd been working in the NHS for 16 years. And yeah, when I started this program, I'd moved away from mental health nursing frontline and I was in like an operational management position for a crisis team, which I'd been doing for about three and a half years. I'd been thinking on and off for a few years actually that I'm not sure I want to be in this career forever. Having worked through COVID and beyond, the pressure was immense, and I guess I was just a bit burnt out, and just thinking, well, I don't really want to do this forever. But what can I do? I'm sure I've got transferable skills, but I just don't really know necessarily what they are and what I want to do with them. So I guess I was a bit lost, really. I think it was the realization that you can be burnt out and bored at the same time, which sounds really odd, but I think I'd reached that point. I was on autopilot every day and dealing with some like really serious incidents and like all the accountability that comes with that. And not to say I was doing it with my eyes closed, but I was used to it. And just, I guess, the impact on my own kind of mental well-being. I wasn't unhappy per se, but I definitely wasn't feeling particularly fulfilled. I don't think I was getting the same kind of satisfaction out of it as I probably did a few years ago. And yeah, just wanted something different, but didn't know what that looked like or how to go about it. Not really. I mean, I guess I, tried to think, well, where could I go next? And I'd gone for promotions or like looking at working in slightly different teams, but pretty much in the same organization or similar organizations. But I felt a bit like, well, I'm stuck in this now. This is where my experience lies. So I wouldn't have a clue about going into any other kind of industry. I'd looked at your website and I watched, I think, every single testimonial that was on your website, and so many different stories from different people that had made big changes, or even if they hadn't changed career, they'd found fulfillment. And I guess it was a bit of a gamble, really, because you might have only put the good testimonials on your website. But I think it was kind of like, if I don't go for it, then I'd rather sort of do it and see what it's like than not try.
Have there been any aha moments that stuck with you throughout?
I think so, yeah. I mean, because obviously the first, well, I can't remember how many, but it was at least five, wasn't it? The first few sessions were, I mean, we didn't even really talk about kind of, what job could I do? It wasn't about that. It felt like it was more about getting to know myself, really. And one of my first sort of big aha moments was realizing that the things that had shaped my career, or like my interactions or my relationship with managers and things over the years that maybe hadn't been so positive, actually a lot of that was shaped by my own doing and my own choices. But I hadn't seen it as a choice before. I think that was a massive kind of realization for me. Not to sort of blame myself or anything, but yeah, something just suddenly, it was like a light bulb going on. It was like, oh wow, okay. And I can change it. And I think that's the positive thing that came out of that, was like, wow, actually I can make changes. And actually, I think another really helpful thing, one of the practical things that I got out of the program was the learning how to analyze a job advert or job description and kind of look at, what are the skills they're looking for, what are the qualities, what are the results, and then being able to translate that to things that you've done in your experience. It might sound very different in the words that you would have described in your previous role, but actually the meaning behind it is probably similar, and you might not think it's relevant, but it is. Obviously, I'd kind of made that, it gave me that push I handed in my notice, I think, after a couple of sessions, which I hadn't planned to do that, but it was kind of like now or never. And yeah, there was a period, when I wasn't working, when I was thinking, gosh, what if I don't get a job in the next few months? But I think by that point, you'd sort of given me a lot of the skills, and I had that a bit more confidence to think, no, just trust the process, actually. Don't it's not just the end goal, trust the process and you'll get there. I mean, it felt very sort of not psychological. I mean, it's not like therapy or anything, but in a sense, there was a lot of it is kind of working on yourself psychologically. And I didn't realize that it would be like that. And I'm quite a psychologically minded person, so I found that actually really suited me. And just like the practical things about mapping your experience and your skills, and then also searching for and applying for jobs, thinking about how you put that across in a way that's appropriate to the job you're applying for. I mean, particularly the modifying misconceptions, applying for jobs in a completely different industry, and how you kind of put that across, and the questions behind the questions in interviews, that I think that was really helpful as well. I had kind of through this process decided that I wanted to work in some kind of crisis management, or sort of define my work purpose, if you like, as helping people and organizations overcome challenges and be more resilient. And so I've actually recently started a job in my local council as lead resilience officer. And so it's, emergency planning, business continuity, those kinds of things. And I think, obviously when I applied for the job and when I started, it's like, well, seeing this very much as a seed job, which, I believe it is, but actually now 5 weeks in, I think this is something that I want to do for at least a couple of years. It's really great. I'm working in my local community in the area that I live. It's local government. I can actually see the difference that's being made in my community, which is brilliant. Lovely team, learning so much. Next week I'm off going to a course in York at the Emergency Planning College for a whole week. So yeah, and do you know what the great thing is? It feels really nice to started a new role in an organisation that, I don't know everything. I'm not expected to know everything. It feels like I'm really supported to learn and grow. I'm not expected to just hit the ground running and know everything. And it's just nice to be able to have that sort of openness as well, and honesty with my manager, and yeah, I feel supported. And I think people actually respect and welcome the fact that I'm from a completely different background and bring a new perspective on things. So yeah, it feels really good. Really enjoying it so far. I feel a lot less anxious about it. I don't have that imposter syndrome that I've always had, even when I've been doing a job for years. There's going to be things that I don't know, but I don't feel afraid to ask the question. I can be quite open and honest in my one-to-ones with my manager and, my team. I just feel a lot more like I can be myself, I guess, and just grow with it. Yeah, and I don't have that Sunday night dread anymore, which is brilliant. Looking forward to seeing what tomorrow brings, or the next few weeks, months, years even. I'm so glad I've gone through this process. Obviously it's still very much the start of my journey, and this is something that's going to evolve over time, but it's made me realize that you can make big changes. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to turn your life upside down. And if you're thinking about it and it's cropping up in your thoughts all the time, there's a reason for that. Also, I think for me, it was realizing that, I deserve this actually. I've worked hard all my life and I deserve to get some fulfillment out of that. And even if going through the process, I end up sticking in the same industry or doing something that I completely never thought of, well, surely that's better than not doing anything. I think for me, that was the main thing. Just do something.